So on behalf of our team, the Agri-PDB Platform, thank you, NABARD, and thank you, my colleagues, for joining this peer-to-peer exchange. Special thank you to Mr. Saho and Pais, who helped with all the logistics to make it happen on 14 August. The spirit today is to dialogue between peers. I would like that it could be a conversation, not just a presentation. So we would like to start maybe with NABARD. Mr. Kumar and Saho, how do we see? You will go ahead and present a PowerPoint, or it's just a discussion?
So we have made a small presentation to give a brief about the accreditation process, how the accreditation is happened. So before doing the presentation, I'll give a big background. NABARD is the National Bank for Agriculture Rural Development, which is the one of the DFI, particularly working in the agriculture sector. And way back in 2012, we have accredited as National Implementing Entity for the Adaptation Fund. They have done a due diligence. And why they have accredited us? Before that, we are into the natural resource management programs. We have implemented so many natural resource management programs, such as watershed development program, or the orchard management, or the natural resource management. And they have scrutinized our accounts, our systems, procedures, the managerial capacity, and they gave us the accreditation. And on that accreditation basis, again, we have approached GCF and we got accredited of the Green Climate Fund. And recently, there is a fund called FRLD, that is Loss and Damage Fund, where automatically we have reaccredited on the basis of GCF accreditation. And we have so far implemented around 8 projects under both these Green Climate and Adaptation Fund. And we have reaccredited again 2 times by the Adaptation Fund, and I think 1 time by the Green Climate Fund. So this is the brief background. And we will now share the presentation, and we'll go with the presentation. Just a minute.
Yeah, maybe if you allow, are we allowed to give some minutes to Pais to present quickly MAIIC and its domain of activities?
Screen share.
Can you receive me?
Yeah, just a minute. You want to say something?
Yes, just to give 1 minute or two to Pais, to present the Malawi Agriculture and Industrial Corporation. Yeah, just a few minutes, for you, that you have a bit of knowledge of the public banks in Malawi. Yeah, please, Pais.
Yeah, thank you very much. So, indeed, we are MAIIC, Malawi Agricultural and Industrial Investment Corporation. And of course, we're lucky to visit NABARD last year. And there's a lot of things that we had learned and we had requested for this specific session last year, and happy that it's coming to actualization. So MAIIC is a local DFI, newly established, would call it. We started operations in 2019, October, as a financier, mostly focusing on long-term financing for SMEs in Malawi. And our focus in terms of our sectors is agriculture, agro-processing, manufacturing, energy, tourism, and other. I mean, the mandate is broad, but when you look at MAIIC and the landscape in Malawi, you notice that Malawi is agro-based, and therefore most of our investments are in the agriculture sector. And therefore, issues to do with climate change do impact Malawi a lot, and that is the space that we are trying to intervene by actually trying to adopt these mitigations as well as adaptation measures. And therefore, we noted that NABARD is already in that space, is already accredited. Of course, we're also chasing accreditation ourselves. And therefore, there's a lot of learning points from the journey that you went through to this day. And hence this session today. So in brief, that is how I like to put it, but there's a lot that MAIIC does that I believe the team that comes to Malawi in October, of course, is going to, learn. And of course, we believe that there will be more interaction going forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Spice. Yeah. Over to you, colleagues from NABARD.
Okay. Just give us a minute. We'll share the presentation.
Thank you. Yes, you can see the screen in the presentation mode.
Visible?
Yes, in presentation mode. Thank you.
Yeah. So, right, I will request my colleague Ranef to have the presentation. And if you have any queries, you can stop at any point of time and just want to clarify. And if not, we can have the presentation and we can have the discussion. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. So I'll just taking you through the presentation as requested by the platform. So we have included the following agenda items for today's discussion. So straight away, I will just go through the GCF architecture as most of them, all people may be knowing, but it just refresh you to your memories. So the Clean Climate Fund is the largest climate finance in the globe. And the financing from the GCF can be accessed by any developing countries through an accredited entity. So accredited entities are a mandatory channel partner for accessing the resources from the GCF. So AEs are the partners with the GCF, which are accredited by the board of the GCF. And the GCF offers various financial instruments through various programs and projects. They offer grants, concession loans, equity guarantee, and also the result payment mechanisms. In all of these funding channels and the funding mechanisms, including the preparatory support and the readiness programs offered by the GCF, the country ownership is a mandatory aspect we need to ensure, and that is being ensured through the national designated authority, who is actually the interface between the GCF and the partner country. So coming first, we look into who can apply for the accreditation. So all any detail, whether it is international, regional, or national, or the subnational and public or the private entities can apply for the accreditation. So there are basically two types of access modalities. One is a direct access modality, in which regional, national, or the sub-region, subnational entities nominated by the government apply for accreditation. Such entities are called direct access entities. So other modality is the international access modality. That is basically for the international entities like including UN agencies or the multilateral development banks like ADB or the World Bank and other international financial institutions and the regional institutions. So during the accreditation process, as you may be knowing, the GCF will be assessing the fiduciary principles and standards of a particular entity, the alignment with the environmental and social safeguard, the general policy. So basically, the fiduciary standards are basically key administrative and financial capabilities, their transparency and accountability, whether you have a procurement process and whether the process are transparent or not, how do you manage the grievance and such aspects. So there are specialized fiduciary criteria in various managing with the various financial instruments such as grants, loans, equity, and other aspects. So recently, there was an initial accreditation framework in 2025. GCF has revised the accreditation framework. There were considerable changes in the accreditation, the revised accreditation framework, which came effective from the 31st October 2025. NABARD was actually got accredited before this revised accreditation framework in place. So in the present accreditation framework, there are it's a 5-step process. First is a nomination of the self-nomination. We will just have a brief detail into these 5 steps in the next slide. And in the revised accreditation, pre-screening is a mandatory entry point before a full accreditation application is submitted to the GCF. So if they found through the pre-screening results are the entity is passed, then only there is need for submitting the full application and paying the fees for the accreditation. So earlier the applications are we can submit at any time of the point of the time, but as per the revised accreditation framework, only 2 application windows are open throughout the period, and each window will last only for 2 months. This is only for the submission of the application. The pre-screening, it is not applicable for the pre-screening. Pre-screening can be done throughout the year. So a review of the accredited application is basically designed around the institutional readiness, predictability, transparency, efficiency, and accountability of the organization. And earlier, the accreditation had a fixed term of 5 years. NABARD was initially accredited in 2015, and the accreditation master agreement was effective in 2017 for a 5-year term. And again, we got reaccredited for another 5-year term. But as per the revised accreditation framework, this came into effective from 31st October 2025. This application, so this fixed term is no longer applicable. So once you are accredited for so long, subject to the annual performance reviews and annual self-assessment reports we submit to the GCF. So going to the accreditation approach of GCF, there are 2 types of accreditation approach. One is an institutional accreditation that through which the NABARD has undergone the accreditation, in which the entities get accredited through the 5-stage process. Then thereafter there will be funding proposal will be submitted, and once the funding proposal is approved, the project will be implemented. So GCF has also piloted a project-specific assessment approach in which an entity who is having a project concept can submit a project concept. Along with the project concept, the GCF will be reviewing their internal capacity assessment and other aspects. But there are some limitations to the project-specific assessment. One entity can submit only one funding proposal to the board, and the number of funding proposal considered to the PSSA is also limited to 10 per year or something like that. So the institution like MAIIC will be, I think, they will be looking into the institutional accreditation process. So in the next slide. So we will be briefly looking into what is the exact accreditation process. One is the government nomination or the self-nomination. For any government agencies, it has to be mandatorily nominated by the nationally designated authority. If it is a non-government agency, they can self-nominate it in consultation with the DAE. So for the international agencies, they can self-nominate. There is no nomination required from the NDA because they are international agencies. Next is the pre-screening. So it is available throughout the year. It basically check the eligibility and capacity check whether they can be pursued further for the application process. So once the pre-screening check is passed, they will be invited for submission of the accredited application by the GCF. Next stage is the application and the fee. So as I have mentioned earlier, there are 2 application windows per year, which are having a duration of 2 months. So all required information for the detailed assessment in terms of the capacity and also track record of the entity has to be submitted during this stage. And once they found that the application is completed in its all requirements, then the GCF will ask you to submit the fee. There are fee and the structure is available in the GCF website for that. So once the application is found to be completed and the fees is paid, the application will be forwarded to the accreditation panel, and also the secretariat will also conduct the accreditation screening. And the detailed assessment will be conducted by the accreditation panel of the GCF, and they may seek additional clarification, additional documents, and the supporting documents, and also the track record in implementation of the various policies, and we may have to respond timely to their queries. So once the accreditation panel finds that the application is completed and the capacity of the AE is sufficient as per the requirements specified in the GCF, it will be presented before the board. The AP will accreditation panel will recommend the application to the board. So board is the final authority who finally take the decision whether to accredit an agency or not. Basically, once the accreditation panel is recommended, it most probably the board will take decision to accredit that particular agency. So once accreditation is done, there will be a confirmation certificate will be issued. Previously, there was an accreditation master agreement need to be signed by an entity and it has to become effective. But as per the revised accreditation framework, AMI is not longer required. Confirmation certificate will be issued by the GCF, that will be sufficient. And it also want to mention that the pre-accreditation preparation support will be provided by the GCF through the national government if they have availed the country window for the readiness and preparatory support. So you can, if you want to bring more systems, you want to do some assessments or policy changes or anything, so there are support can be available, but it all depends on the NDA, how you want to give a grant or not for that purpose. So that's all about the accreditation process. Now just I will take you through the NABARD's accreditation journey. We initially got accredited in July 2015 by the GCF. Yeah, I can see some hands. So you want to...
Please, Thais, go ahead. Please, Thais.
Yes, thanks. So I just want to get credit on the accreditation journey itself. So there's two approaches that you've mentioned. The first one is via the institution, and the second one is project specific. So, but when you look at the process itself, I just need to understand whether the project specific approach follows the same journey that you have to go or undergo under the institution accreditation.
See, the project specific approach will be a much simpler version. So they will be assessing whether the capacity of the particular entity for implementing that particular project only, and also the systems are in place for implementing that project. So they will not going into the detailed assessment of the applicant in terms of as rigorous as that of the institutional accreditation. It's a much simpler version of the accreditation. They will be only able to submit one project, and for that implementation of the project, they will assess the systems and the procedures in place or not.
Okay, thanks.
Mr. Mohammed?
Yeah, from my side, just how did NABARD coordinate across department to assemble the application?
So I'll be coming to that in the upcoming slide. Hope we'll cover that part.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Looking forward. Thank you. Please proceed.
So just to brief about the accreditation timelines, basically, so in 2015 we got accredited, but there was an accredited master agreement needs to be executed. So there were back and forth many communications. We need to get clearance from the government of India for entering into an agreement. So that resulted in executing the AMA in 2 years, so that we entered an AMA in 2017. And there were some preconditions before getting the AMA effective. So the AMA was effective in 2017 August. So the accreditation term was for a 5 year from August 2017 to August 2022. So before elapsing the first accreditation term of 5 years, we submitted a re-accreditation application 6 months prior to the expiry of the first accreditation. We again got accredited in 2022, and again we ended revised accreditation master agreement in November 2023, and which became effective in August 2024 only. So now we are accredited for, because of the revised accreditation framework, initially it was only 5 years, now we are accredited for indefinite time. So in the initial, the different accreditation scope, the NABARD is eligible to submit a large projects, so projects having more than 215 million US dollar. And environmental social safeguard category, different categories, category A, B, C. Category A means higher environmental and social impacts are there. So category B and medium impacts, and the categories are no specific impacts during the project implementation. So NABARD is accredited to category B because we don't have any track record of implementing the category A projects during our since our inception. So we could get only category B accreditation. So coming to the fiduciary standards, there are different fiduciary standards, but in the revised accreditation framework, these different fiduciary standards are no more applicable. So based on our experience, so this is the institutional process we followed during the accreditation process. We had a dedicated team, so we have a separate climate change vertical, so that was inserted since we got accredited to the adaptation fund. So that means the end of the climate change vertical was interested for getting accredited, and the clear ownership was with the climate change team. But there was interdepartmental coordination is required. So we had a interdepartmental coordination was done through the climate change vertical. So we made a accreditation work plan. So we decided what are the aspects to be covered. So we initially did an institutional gap assessment in terms of what are the requirements of the GCF and what is down there in the within NABARD. So based on that, we mapped various existing processes against the requirements. And during the accreditation applications and the communications with the GCF, we had made different control and respiratory records in which that what we have submitted to them earlier, what we have submitted in a later point of time, what are the manuals and the version control, how we maintain, so that it took say 2 years to get accredited. So whatever we have said in the initial, we are not contradicting anything to that, but we have said earlier. So we have maintained the entire records properly. So, and we have given clear response to the accreditation panel to their questions whenever there is required. And also we ensure that there are several departments are concerned in the accreditation process. We have to get the observations and confirmation from our risk management team, our inspection team, and our field team where the projects are being implemented, and our audit teams and our say other procurement team. So whenever we are responding to any of the specific comments or the specific aspects, we get it vetted by the respective departments, so that there was a committee constituted for getting these things accredited. So coming to
Sorry, before you move on this one.
Yeah, yes, please.
I couldn't. So this slide that you're showing us now, is this something that you can share with us? I think there's a lot of value in it.
Yeah, we can share this presentation with you. That's not an issue.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Great, thanks.
So coming to the composition of the accreditation team, so accreditation coordination unit actually our climate change vertical who was actually dealing with the adaptation fund and GCF has been nominated as the accreditation coordination team, and we had our senior management colleagues heading this particular team, and we have an nodal persons or a point of contact from the different departments like finance and accounts, the team leading with ESS and gender aspects. We have team from the race compliance and audit and legal team, and the governance team, and the project and business functions. We have made team in such a way that one point of contact from each of the department were also nominated to work as accreditation coordination unit. So coming to the institutional readiness that we have undertaken, so we have nominated an accountable senior officer was nominated that was headed by our chief general manager that was the head of our different departments. So he was heading the climate change vertical. And we have submitted the application with the clear management directions on what are the accreditation scope we are going to do and what are the strategic purpose. We got a clear guidance from the management, then only we proceeded for submitting the application to the ministry for getting a nomination letter. And actually, initially we get the application with the approval of the management team. So after approval of the board, then only we presented everything to the board, because there was some NABARD got actually the conditional accreditation. There was some policies we had to formulate subsequent to the accreditation to become that effective. So we brought everything before the board and take the board into consideration, and we got some of the policies. Actually, our environmental and social policy and gender policy were formulated actually subsequent to our accreditation, are a precondition for the accreditation. So we brought everything before the board and get everything approved. And we actually, our suggestion is that we need to embed GCF-related responsibility into normal governance, not as a parallel, separate climate projects. So GCF, that was very essential when we went to for the re-accreditation. So they were clearly checking whether the policies we prepared are we following that. We need to show the track record of implementing those particular policies. So during the the response, basically in terms of when we need to get respond to the observations of the accreditation panel. Sometimes we may not get response from the particular department. So we created escalation mechanism, bringing into the notice of the heads of the particular department so that it can be resolved, and the response to the observations can be submitted to the. And we also periodically reported the progress to the top management to bring them also into the confidence of the entire process. So one of the major aspects in the accreditation is responding to the queries of the accreditation panel. So we may be submitting all the documents and everything to the accreditation through our accreditation panels, but we may have to give more clarification and the track record when there was queries coming from the accreditation panel. They will be critically reviewing the various documents, and they will comparing this with their concerned policies and say, oh, your provisions in the policy is not matching with ours. Will you like to change your policy, and what additionally you would like to bring? So they will really test whether institutions' status systems are actually operational or working. So they will scrutiny the entire fiduciary systems, project management system, and we need to provide a track record. And we may have to give a very clear explanation plus evidence to them. That is one of the critical. So if we only respond to on the policy language, they may not accept to that. So we were forced to give various track record of all our complaints to the policies. And whenever there were gaps exist, we told the accreditation panel that there are gaps. For example, our environmental social policy, we didn't have an environmental sources policy at that point of time. We didn't have a gender policy at that point of time. So that was the gaps we found, and we made a statement that we will be coming up with the environmental social policy and a gender policy in future time. So we should ensure that we will not give contradictory answers from the different departments. So the MD answer from the department was vet by the nodal team, the climate change vertical, so that there are no contradictory statements given to the accreditation panel, so that they may question to these contradictory statements. So that's all from the accreditation perspective. I've just brief you regarding the project preparation stages to have. Accreditation, the first stage. So once you get accredited, you will be able to better know how to prepare a funding proposal. There are detailed guidelines available, but I will take you to that stage also. If you have any aspects or any questions related to accreditation, I am happy to answer before moving to the next. Yes, please.
Okay, thanks. So mine is very specific to one policy that I heard about, and I was very interested to understand how you dealt with that. Hello.
Yeah, yes, please. Please go ahead.
Yeah, so there's you've mentioned a number of policies here, but there's also this policy called Indigenous Peoples Policy that I hear the GCF is very interested in. Now, Malawi is predominantly black, and I believe that that is also the situation with India, where the Indian people are like the predominant race, and therefore just checking how you dealt with that policy, because we seem to have a problem here in Malawi in terms of kind of developing that policy as well as implementing it, as we only mostly have one people, which is the Malawian people, the indigenous people.
So actually, for NABARD, we didn't have a separate indigenous policy, but when we have a lot of programs we implemented, especially the tribal development program, which is intended for the welfare of the tribal people. The tribal people in India are considered to be the indigenous people. So actually, we didn't have a separate policy for indigenous people, but our environmental social policy, we have put provisions for the indigenous people as a performance standards. So that was satisfying for them. So they didn't request us to have a separate policy of indigenous people.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay, so the second one is from the previous slide that you showed. You talked about, sorry, just go back to the previous slide.
This one?
Yes, that one. So there's so point number 4 on the institutional readiness. You're saying that we have to embed GCF-rated responsibilities into normal governance, not about climate project. So I just need you to say a little bit on that, just to expound on it, because I believe that for most institutions, this is kind of a project, right? We're saying maybe in the next 3, 4, 5 years, we want to be accredited for GCF. Now you're saying this is like normal governance process and not a project to achieve a certain outcome. So maybe you might want to clarify on that.
Say one of the requirements of the GCF was to have a gender policy. So the gender policy also says that when we do a project, the impacts are to be captured to the extent if it is a sex segregated data has to be captured as an outputs or the outcomes of a particular project. So if when we get re-accredited, they specifically assessed this criteria whether the NABARD is doing that only for the GCF projects or are we doing that in other projects also. So that means if we make a policy for the requirement of the GCF and if we didn't apply for the other projects which is apart from the GCF projects, it is not acceptable for them. So that's the meaning, one of the meaning that so these are GCF related responsibilities. We need to embed that in our normal operations as well, rather than only for the GCF funded projects.
Right. Okay. So in other words, what you're saying is, as we develop these policies, they need not only apply to the GCF-rated projects, but rather have to actually apply organization-wide and should be kind of the nature of the project. I mean, the nature of the organization to actually implement such projects with or without, or such policies with or without the GCF.
Exactly. So GCF will be specifically assessing the track record of an institution, whether they are applying those policies in actual or not.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anything else? Otherwise, we'll go to Mr. Mohammed.
Yeah, I'm done. Thank you.
Yeah. Mr. Mohammed.
Yeah, thanks. So my question would be to your knowledge, what were the hardest gaps to close during the accreditation process? The hardest gaps to your knowledge.
Excuse me, come again, hardest?
Yeah, to your knowledge, what's the hardest gaps to close during the accreditation process within the team?
So there were some gaps such as we didn't have an environmental social policy, we didn't have a gender policy. These were the major gaps they found out during the accreditation readiness. And we brought those policies, we brought those board approved policies. But actually, as per so it was a conditional accreditation given to NABARD earlier. But as per the revised accreditation framework, there will not be any conditional accreditation. Before getting accredited, you have to bring all the policies which is in alignment with the requirements of the GCF. Initially, they assess the gaps and they may give a conditional accreditation. So based on the conditional accreditation, in order to bring the gap, NABARD brought over the environmental social policy and gender policy. But as per the present framework, before getting accredited, you need to ensure that you have a policy in place in alignment with the GCF requirement. So that was a major gap. And also some aspects related to the grievance redressal mechanism, though we were a government of India institution and we follow the government of India's guidelines for the grievance redressal, and they were specifically asking us to put everything on our website, and I think that was one of the aspects we need to get approval of the board and everything to put that in the board, because we are a larger one of the largest DFIs in India. We dealt with many clients. So that was one of the aspect also, but we could satisfactorily complete to that also.
Thank you. And just a follow-up question, how did you solve this? Would you hire the external service provider, consultant, or with your own human resource of NABARD?
So it was done with our own resources. No external resources were used for getting accredited by NABARD.
Thank you very much.
So, but we have, say, for NABARD, actually have the consultants as there into the panel. So we have consultants hired directly by the NABARD, working as in the directly in the payroll of the NABARD in specialized person having specializations in different aspects.
Well received.
No separate consulting firms, but there were consultants actually.
All right, well received. Thank you.
So if anything is nothing more, then I will just move forward. Just to brief you, but I just again tell you that accreditation is the first steps. So once you get accredited, get acquainted with the GCFs, then you will be able to identify or will be in a position to prepare project proposals in alignment with the GCF requirements. I'll just give you a brief of the GCF programming cycle. GCF programming cycle actually spans over the different 10 stages after the GCF. So there are country and a working programs. So the NDA or the accredited entities will sit together and decide country working plans. So they will identify some of the pipelines, or they may prioritize some of the activities or the area they wanted to target. That's all depend on the country priorities. So there are also targeted generation if the country wants to do some adaptation or the mitigation activities for a specific sector or this. So there will be plans prepared by the countries. So first 1 or 2 are actually country driven. It's actually duty of the nationally designated entities to prepare such plans. So next is the concept note submission. Concept note is a brief document, is a 10-page document we need to submit if we have an area which we feel that is in alignment with the GCF requirements. So the concept note will be submitted to the GCF for their review. They may endorse the concept note. And if they endorse the concept note, we can go for a funding proposal development, because funding proposal is something like a detailed project report. There are detailed documentation and the timelines and the costs involved in preparing a funding proposal. It's always suggested that you go with a concept note submission, but that's not mandatory. But in order to avoid any cost or timelines, so it's always suggested that you submit a concept note and funding proposal. So if the concept note is endorsed by the GCF, there is a project preparation facility up to $1.5 million per project also will be made available by the GCF to prepare a funding proposal. So once the funding proposal is developed, we need to get a no objection letter from the NDA. Then we will be submitting that to the GCF. Then it will be reviewed by the GCF through their independent technical panel. Then it will be posted before the board. So board is approved, then the legal agreements and the post-approval process will be taken. Then the project will be implemented, and the monitoring of the performance and compliance is the duty of the accredited entity. So during the process, if there is changes or any minor changes is required, the extension is required, the adaptive management follow practices will be followed. And the final, once the project is completed, there will be evaluation, the laning of the project, and the closure of the project will be conducted. This is the overall picture of the GCF programming cycle. So how do we assess whether the particular project is a GCF ready? Is basically if we need to yes, please.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe before we move on,
Yeah.
I was looking at the previous slide, and
Okay.
yeah, so two questions, not on that slide, but okay. So going back to the first section where we're talking about the process itself, I just need to understand the level of engagement or responsiveness by the GCF itself. How responsive are they? Are they pretty prompt? Are they very bad, or is it like medium? How is the level of proper of engagement? And then secondly, coming to the programming life itself, I see the process, the cycle. Looks to me like a co-creation or co-development cycle. Just want to confirm whether that understanding is correct, or is it that you as an entity have to actually develop the project, send it to them for review, and then they give you their comments, and then once that is closed, then you go to the next step. How does it work?
So for coming to the first question and say responses, GCF has to set timelines for everything. So if you submit a concept notes, they will revert you back in 4 weeks. So if you submit a funding proposal, they will get back to you in 1 month or 4 weeks with their initial observation. So there are timelines as specified.
I've lost.
Transparency and the accountability policies of the GCF. So they are in some
Sorry.
manner, the prompt, but
I lost you a little bit, maybe some 10, 20 seconds there. So I did not get what you
is it
said.
audible? Is it audible now?
Yeah, now I can get you.
Say GCF has set specific timelines for everything. So if we submit an application, they are supposed to respond to us within 2 weeks or 3 weeks. So everywhere the timelines are set, so they will be responding with in timelines. So one of the though there are timelines set, one of the problem we face. So they put a lot of questions, and we may not be able to answer within a month or within 2 months to their queries, because that will be huge queries and we meant to have large background works to respond to their queries. So that one of the problem we face. Otherwise, they are responsive to their queries. They have set timelines in a transparent manner. So coming to the next questions, the proposal development is not considered to be a core development. It is the duty of the entity. Whether say usually there are executing entities who actually implement the project. So you can source the proposals from the executing entities and you can review and you can submit, or you can develop your own proposals and submit to the GCF. So GCF will give you technical assistance to the project preparation facilities, but they will give you comments and observations of proposal. Otherwise, it's not a co-creation of the funding proposal. They will give you, but it's not a co-creation. They will review and provide you comments on and observation for the proposal. Hope I clarify.
Yeah, so it's a kind of very iterative process.
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
So coming to the next slide, what is the GCF-ready project like? So every project we submit to the GCF should be aligned with the mandate of the GCF is for adaptation and mitigation. So in order to prove that it's not a development project, so we assure that we need to clearly distinguish that the activities or the project we submit does not qualify as a development project. It should be a climate change project. So there should be a clear climate problem along with an evidence. So there should be a robust baseline of the climate problems. We need to qualify and they quantify the adaptation and mitigation results. So there are 6 investment criteria. I'm not going to detail into the 6 investment criteria of the GCF paradigm sheet, impact potential. You will get everything to GCF website. Everything has to be clearly captured. And we should have also the sustainable development goals and what is the GCF additionality, why GCF funding is secured, why it cannot be mobilized from your domestic sources. That aspect has to be given. So we need to have a financial structure, appropriate financial institution. If you're looking for a grant, why it cannot be loaned? That much questions are there arising. We need to identify the most appropriate financial instrument. And also co-financing is also a requirement of the GCF. Though there are no specific guidelines or thumb rules, we need to have some co-financing. So they look like to act as a catalytic in mobilizing the climate finance from the additional sources. So we need to prove that also in our concept notes. And also all the safeguards and inclusion alignment with their environmental social policy, gender policy, grievance aspects, everything has to be here. Clear implementation aspects and procurement, result framework, monitoring and evaluation has to be there. And coming to the next is one of the major aspects, the country ownership. We need to engage with the NDA very early, that saying that if we prepare a concept note and later the NDA says that no, this is not alignment with the country priority, we can't give you no objection letter, that is not acceptable. So we need to engage with the NDA early. And once we submit a funding proposal, we need to get a no objection letter, which is a very mandatory aspects in any funding proposal. So if the project is the climate driven and the country owned, the financially justified and the technically feasible, environmentally and socially sound, and capable of transformational result, then it's a GCF-ready project. They will not finance for the standalone development projects or standalone projects which do not have a transformational results. So these, based on the discussion, these are the requirements in a GCF professional. Why GCF? That additionality as climate rational, country-driven approach, compliance with the policies, investment criteria, and other complete documentations, including financial model, timetable, gender analysis, and these are the for your brief idea. So based on the discussion, our key messages to you, especially regarding the accreditation, it's an institutional transformation exercise. So as you attend the environmental social policy and the gender policy, we developed as a resultant of the accreditation application of the condition. But that helped us in a long way in accessing financing from other developmental institutions, our multilateral development banks, or transformation on our own way also. This helped us in a lot. So you have to start with a gap assessment and clear institutional business case, that what exactly you want to do with the GCF. We need to have a senior management ownership, that clear coordination between other cross-departmental coordination can be ensured. We need to ensure that we have operational systems along with the evidence. We not only the policies alone, that is a very important aspect. We need to treat ESS, gender, other fiduciary controls, and risk management as the core institutional functions, not only created for the GCF as we have discussed earlier. We need to decide the accreditation scope strategically, whether we can go accredited for the category A, B, or do we have the capacity to do the such type of projects. That has to be clearly assessed. And we need to systematically prepare the response to the accreditation panel and clarification. There will be multiple round of clarification. If we give response to one, they will again ask observations or clarifications for that. We need to systematically do. Everything has to be endorsed by a particular team so that there will not be any contradictions. So we need to have internal capacity built and institutional memory, so that it may take 1 or 2 years, so that if the people get changes, then again we will be in a difficult to get the accreditation process going smooth. So as project preparation comes next, first step is get you accredited. So once you get accredited, there are enough guidelines and everything, and also the preparatory or technical assistance support available from the Green Climate Fund for you to take you further. So that's all from our side, and from the presentation, we are open to any questions.
Maybe colleagues or my colleagues here, if there's any follow-up question.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's been comprehensive and very insightful. Of course, I think towards the end of the presentation, when you're looking at the criteria, you talked about the six. I mean, there was like a mention of the six kind of criteria that they look at. Of course, we did not delve deep into it, but I just thought that probably we may look at some of them, and probably one of the items that we're looking at is whether, as a beneficiary of the funds coming out of the GCF, um, given that there's some concessionality there, are we also mandated to actually extend that concession to beneficiaries? For instance, NABARD as a beneficiary, you actually lent that money if you are given a loan. Is that money extended to your beneficiaries on commercial terms, or you have to extend the concessionality of that facility?
So yeah, that's one of the questions. It's a good question, but the GCF looks into whether actually the conditionality has to be passed to the final beneficiaries. So it's not for the institutions to get benefited of the financing from the GCF. It's actually for the actual field level implementation that benefit has to be passed. So GCF will clearly assess through the annual performance reports, and we have to give evidence that the benefit is being passed to the ultimate beneficiaries or the ultimate off-taker of the financing.
Okay, that's interesting. Now, when it comes to risk management and of course, credit defaults, given that you do not have any commercial interest as an entity, do you take that do you foot that bill on behalf of the beneficiaries, or does the GCF then say, okay, because there's no commercial benefit and therefore if someone defaults, then that remains GCF's risk?
In one of our project we implemented, the credit risk was actually borne by the GCF itself. So we didn't bear any credit risk. If the default happened, so we were only liable to pay whatever we could recover from the beneficiary or the executing entity. So that is up to us during the term sheet negotiations. So GCF is considered to be a concessional or looking for this transformation. So such type of aspects that the credit risk has to be borne by the such type of entities. So during the term sheet negotiation, you can negotiate with the GCF for bearing the credit risk. So that was our experience.
All right. That's interesting. Okay, thank you very much.
Yes.
Yeah, from my side, yeah, just maybe question for. Can you hear me?
1 second, please.
Yeah, take your time.
Okay. Sorry, please go ahead, Mohammed.
Yeah, it's the question redirected for MAIIC as well. So, to your knowledge, if MAIIC and PICE and my colleagues could invest in just one or two capacity areas for first, where should they start for MAIIC? To your knowledge?
So this regarding the accreditation process?
Yes.
So accreditation process regarding the capacity of building. So I'll just start. Say if you're really interested in getting accredited, first you do a gap assessment or the self screening of the MAIIC. So then you will be able to know, do you require any further improvements or the further policy aspects are to be required. Then you can consult with the NDA. So there are a country window for the preparedness support of the technical assistance.
Excuse me. I have another engagement. I will leave. Ranif will continue. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So first thing is to get a gap assessment by the institute. Then they can approach the NDA. So NDA has this country window of the readiness support, which is available from the GCF up to I think 4 million for a period of the 4 years. So NDA can help in helping the MAIIC in do that process through. There are delivery partners to the GCF who are empaneled consultants with the GCF. You can give him help in doing that assessment and the capacity building.
Yeah, so thank you very much. So maybe for the benefit of the Agri-PDB platform, we have already started the process ourselves. Of course, some of the assistance will be coming from the Food and Agriculture Organization. So as we speak now, we have actually undergone some kind of what do I call it, mock screening process, pre-screening process,
Okay.
to get us ready. We have been nominated by the NTA, and of course, I was asking about the engagement with GCF. It's because our experience maybe in the initial days will have not been very good, because since the nomination letter went, it was about 3 months later that they came back to us, and that had to take the intervention of the FAO, right? So it has not been a good start, but we believe that it's gonna get better with time. So there's that nomination process. We just want to get, I don't know how to put it, but we are preparing ourselves for the pre-screening process coming in December, January 2027. So that's a target. Now we are actually going for readiness. So gap assessment and all the stuff that you mentioned, that is why I was very interested with a slide that was actually talking about the gap assessment.
Yeah, good to hear that.
Thank you.
Glad to hear that as well. Thanks, guys. Okay. Any other follow-up question? Yeah. If there is no further question, maybe Pais or Mr. Sao, we can close the meeting here, if you all agree.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, we can close. I'm not sure if the team, Vincent, Lottie, do have anything to say,
Yeah, please.
or to ask. I mean, from this side, seems like I was the only one that was listening.
I know we're together. We're following up.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
This is great.
Vincent, anything?
Okay, great. And so coming to this end, let me quick recap the key takeaways by Mr. Sao and colleagues. We went through today the 5-step of accreditation framework, the 2 approach of accreditation of GCF with NABARD on the institution and on the project specificity. NABARD explained the accreditation journey and the process with the institution and the department involved, and the way to prepare the accreditation panel. And finally, the 10 steps of GCF programming cycle. So, Mr. Sao, thank you for your openness and generosity in sharing these lessons. Pais and my colleagues, I would suggest that we translate today's discussion into a short, maybe knowledge product that our platform can disseminate with public banks from the region, East and Southern Africa, interested in the GCF accreditation. We will circulate from our side the briefing note and count on you, Mr. Sao and NABARD, to share with us the presentation. And thank you all, India, Malawi, and our colleagues in the platform team. Thank you very much, and have a good afternoon all, and good evening in India. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We are available in case of any further requirements or the queries. We'll be happy to assist you, and we'll be sharing the presentation shortly.
Thanks a lot. Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Have a nice day.